Hello, good evening and welcome aboard to Business Today. Hope you're doing well on this fine Monday, the 10th of July. I'm JORAMPAUL, SONKO. Welcome on board to Smart 24 Television. First, a look at our top stories. In the headlines tonight, Board of Directors terms on reappointment stacked against legislative demands. Elsewhere, traffic penalties yet to bite. Road Safety Act likely to create impact with 2 million shillings over speeding fine and custody. And also, Uganda loses a self-made billionaire. Business community calls upon the children of the deceased to carry on family legacies. All right, and I'm with Winnie Nakauchi on for sign language interpretation this evening. And we kick it off with the fact that the top central bank position has formally been vacant for proactively filled for over a year since former Governor Emmanuel Mutabire's demise as Deputy Governor. Michael Atig-Ego assumed charge over the same, and currently legislators are pushing the presidency to appoint a governor, and still a number of questions linger about the top position as provision for the Board of Directors reappointment upon death of a member contrasts with legislators' demands. Samla Hanifa reports.
As per the Board of Directors provisions in the Central Bank Act, death of a member of the Board of Directors before expiry of the contract is cushioned by the appointment from the Minister to serve for the remaining period. For the Central Bank's Governor position, appointment is by the President and the tenure is meant to run until 2026. In February this year, a one-heart unison tally petitioned the Attorney General Chiriwa Chiwanuka to remind the President to appoint a substantive governor of the Central Bank. As per the legislators, a maximum of 6 months provided for is way overdue.
An act of not appointing the new bank, the new governor of Bank of Uganda is an act of omission and is contrary to the law of Uganda, as stipulates the 6 months, which has now numbered to 2 years beyond. So I think the President lacks advice on this. If not, he doesn't get heed to the pieces of advice given to him. And this same tendency, I think, it explains the high inflation rate into the country because the regulators of the policies within the Bank of Uganda, they are not there. Therefore, the banks are operating on speculations, on one man's interests.
When somebody is acting, it is normally 6 months. So this is well beyond 6 months, which would cause a lot of questions. So I think His Excellency should consider this and ensure that he appoints the bank governor of Uganda, Bank of Uganda, at the earliest time possible, so that at least people, the fears of people, the citizens are allayed, so that at least systems are operationalized.
Legislative concerns point to the fact that the top position hasn't officially been filled despite the deputy governors taking on a pivotal governor's role. This position has, however, been heightened by economic instability as inflation, a weakening shilling and limited foreign reserves pound more pressure with extra lessons borrowed from Kenya's position.
A national bank is a banker to all other banks. So where a national bank has no governor, then the entire administration of the banking system in the country is more or less collapsing. Can move in a zigzag form.
Now these instances, when they happen to our key trade partners like Kenya, it has a lot of volumes to speak to us. Because if the Kenyan shilling loses value, then it means it's going to affect some of the Ugandan exporters. And Kenya is our big trading partner. But also you begin to say, where is the situation for Uganda itself? Are we having sufficient reserves, or are we going to find ourselves in the same space? So a lot of macroeconomics is also going to be very, very critical for what is happening at the lower level.
Leaders acknowledge the fact that the president has to be extremely careful while choosing a person for the governor's position. However, they as well point out the fact that Uganda has potential economists fit for the job, bringing into question Michael Ating-Ego anchorship despite the deputy status.
This is a position which the country based on its fiscal policies and very sensitive position. But we pray that the president really realizes the need. They do competence profiling, they do search, head count and ensure that at least they put somebody in place. Otherwise, of course, they are based on the fact that within an organization there are people. But I think the limits are that when somebody is acting, it is normally 6 months. So this is well beyond 6 months.
Actually, there has been no urgency because the law provides for the Deputy Governor Bank of Uganda to take over as governor in the absence of the Governor Bank of Uganda. And therefore, there has been no vacuum. The only vacuum that has been there, probably to be a little bit theoretical, is that the Deputy Governor has been acting as the Governor Bank of Uganda, and there has been no Deputy Governor.
No, the President is just working at his own wish. Because the Deputy Governor is there, and even other officers who are credible within the country are still there, because the bank does not only operate with the Governor and the Deputy, but also there are other technical persons who are there. But maybe the President is still looking for the political head of the bank, whom we want to call a bank of governor, and the loyalty of the political head is difficult to define.
On Thursday last week, Parliament's appointment committee, chaired by the Deputy Speaker Thomas Tayewa, vetted Mrs. Josephine Okuwi Okwakwal Osia after reappointment to the Board of Directors of the Central Bank, raising extra speculation on the top position. Sam Lanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Well, our focus now turns to the questionable National Development Plan 4. There's growing interest in how exactly the National Development Plan 4 will turn out following misfire in the third development plan. As the National Planning Authority concluded a 2-week retreat at the National Leadership Training Institute in Chankwanzi, concern has been tended towards addressing costly administration, among other challenges, such as the debt burden, to realize much-needed progress. Samuel Kirimunda reports.
According to the mid-term review of the National Development Plan 3, results show that the country attained only 17% of the targets set in the plan halfway into its implementation. This weak performance is attributed to the challenges of COVID-19 and the existing of data gaps, full transitioning of the program approach, as well as weak planning and budgeting. The results also show a decline in economic growth from a target of 5.2% to an average of 4% in the first 2 years of the National Development Plan 3, which impacted the overall performance of the economy. The State Minister for Finance, Amos Lugolobi, stated that the nation must prioritize and address issues like the high cost of public administration if it's to attain the intended goal and objectives. He made this statement while speaking to the NPA workers at Chankwanzi.
We are indebted even to our lender of last resort, the central bank. And once you are indebted to your lender of last resort, then it's a crisis. Because then you have nobody to run to, because you are last lender of last resort, to a tune of 4.7 trillion shillings. So this has created a challenge that we have the budget, 52 trillion shillings, but underneath that budget, the cash is not there. And that's why we have run into. And that therefore means that we have really sharpened our brains to see how we restore our cash situation.
According to Professor Pamela Mbabazi, the NPS chair, there were significant implementation issues with National Development Plan 3 that made it impossible for the program to be successfully executed due to the effects of the COVID-19.
Findings, just as a reminder, Madam, that were highlighted in the midterm review, that I would really like you to talk to us about honestly and guide us on what we need to do right and achieve the targets in our NDP4. And some of these are that overall, only 17% of the NDP3 results was achieved in the midterm review. Owing to various shocks, of course, we did experience COVID-19 and increasing commodity prices, but we did face a number of implementation challenges. Another major finding, Right Honorable Prime Minister, was that we need to all work together as one government, as one body, to see how we can improve the program coordination and ensure that there is increased staffing, there's increased resourcing, because that forms the core function of the implementation of all government programs. It was also noted, Right Honourable Prime Minister, that the revival of the partnership framework to enable us all partner and get it right in your office.
The government has already started the process of developing the National Development Plan 4, which will be more advantageous to the nation and address the major issue of debt burden. While presiding over the conclusion of the 2-week retreat, Prime Minister Robin Nabbanja stated that the focus of the National Development Plan 4 should be on skilled workforce, preventive health, and whole government approach strategy for economic success.
NDP4 needs to promote quality and appropriate education, which will enable us to exploit our existing huge human and natural resources potential. We need a population that is highly skilled, knowledgeable, and innovative. I want to thank the President, who has now gone into skilling, promoting sustainable development. We need to pursue socio-economic transformation in a sustainable manner. We need to protect our environment and mitigate climate change.
To help the economy to rebound, Amos Legolobi insisted that government should orient the budget and target financing and investments to productive sectors of the economy and ensure fiscal discipline.
I've been tasked to lead a team to re-engineer the financing architecture of the budget. We need to get back to our traditional financials as well as the new funding sources to make sure that we mobilize the necessary resources to finance the budget. Because more than often when we talk about a plan, we spend too much time in terms of where we are going to spend the money, and very little time or no time at all discussing where is the money going to come from to finance the budget. And it is increasingly becoming challenging with the current levels of high interest rates globally, where investors are actually moving into those markets that are deemed to be risk-free to invest their resources there.
The National Plan Authority is a government agency tasked with, according to harmonizing the nation's development planning, monitoring and evaluating public projects and programs, advising the presidency on policies and strategies for the nation's development, while collaborating with the private sector and the civil society to assess the performance of the government and fostering local capacity for both national and decentralized development planning. Andrew Pareje, Samuel Chirimonda, Smart 24 Business Today.
All right, now moving on, let's look at the Uganda Wildlife Recovery. Uganda Wildlife Authority revealed an insight into the post-pandemic recovery as wildlife, a major segment in the tourism sector, recorded growth in visitor numbers despite threat posed by the budget cuts for this financial year. Now, 382,285 visitors have been recorded across key attraction centers, up from the 265,539 to the end of 2022. Bronia Katusime reports.
Uganda's tourism industry, which contributes significantly to its economy, earned 2.7 trillion shillings in revenue in 2022, representing 12.2% of all exports and 41.4% of service exports. The great biodiversity is under the protection of Uganda Revenue Authority, which has played a crucial role in preserving and promoting this natural resource. In terms of performance, number of visitors has continuously risen to 44%. They ranged from 130,812 in fiscal year 2020-21 to 265,539 in financial year 2021-2022 to 382,285 in fiscal year 2022-2023. They have steadily labored to safeguard crucial habitats and promote ecotourism despite several challenges they face.
We have had several cases where unregistered tour operators, first of all, we don't know them. Uganda Tourism Board doesn't know them. Any of the associations don't know them. So they come, they advertise, they get visitors here, They pick the money for maybe even 2 weeks, and they get the visitor arrive here, put them in a car and abandon them in Maction Falls in Bwindi. They abandon them. Sometimes they haven't paid for the permits, they haven't paid for entrance, they have no accommodation, and it is bad for the country, because then the potential visitors, when they hear about this, they say, don't go to Uganda because you will be fleeced.
Just a few months ago, we were in a very big dilemma where we had lost more than half of our funding to the tourism sector. And there is no entity that would have run this financial year without that funding. There is none. We would not have paid staff, we could not have done the same. There would be no development, there would be nothing this financial year, because we have been cut from 100 and almost 90 billion to around 89 billion, a cut of around 100 billion. So it was a big challenge. But
OA is considering implementing many strategies to address these challenges, one of which entails increasing booking proportion from 30% to 50%. This change is intended to lessen the problem of certain speculators who reserve permits without making a sincere commitment, weakening gravity of the current booking requirement.
The idea of raising the 30% is to reduce the speculators so that we get more serious business people who book because they know they will sell this permit. That means we will free up more permits to actually be utilized, because right now, yes, we get the 30% because somebody paid 30% but failed to come. But should we not be getting 100%? We should. So that's why we are telling the tour operators, look, we need to raise this, make it harder for the speculators so that we get serious business.
Nevertheless, this suggestion is not well received by tour operators who are worried about the possible harm it could do to their operations.
Some people have not recovered. And it is sad that instead of trying to help them to recover, we are now asking for 50%. Even the 30 was difficult.
It would be really unfair to assume that the business community is faring well at this moment. Tourism is very sensitive to anything that scares people's lives. So waking up and start changing tariffs, it's like they are assuming that things have become normal. We're going back to 2018, 19 now. They need to realize it would be very good to bring changes for developing our country, but it should be sensitive to the business, which requires continuous consultations.
Uganda Wildlife Authority's unwavering commitment to preserving biodiversity and promoting sustainable practices is commendable. Still, it is vital that adequate resources, both financial and technical, be allocated to support their mission effectively. Bronia Katsime, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now a follow-up away from details regarding tourism. We now turn our focus on what was decided at the start of the month of June in regards to the traffic penalties. But well, unlikely, they are yet to bite. President Yoweri Museveni's answer to the amendment of the 1998 Traffic and Road Safety Act means legality of provisions such as the revised speed limit penalty to 2 million shillings plus a maximum of 3 years imprisonment. This has meanwhile been received with different reactions despite lack of a commencement time frame, as the traffic spokesperson Michael Kananora confirms pending regulations from the Ministry of Works and Transport.
There have been mixed reactions after President Yoweri Museveni assented to the Traffic and Road Safety Act amendment that raised the speeding penalty from 200,000 to 2 million shillings. A person who fails to comply with the speed limit set commits an offence and is liable on conviction to a fine not exceeding 2 million shillings or a maximum of 3 years imprisonment, or both. Michael Kadanura, the traffic spokesperson, confirms that they are waiting for regulations from the Ministry of Works and Transportation before implementation.
We are also, of course, waiting for the Ministry of Works and Transport to work on the regulations for us to operationalize this law in the field. Increasing this amount of money That's why we are continuing to encourage all members of the communities to be in touch with the police in case of anything. We are ready to receive those complaints. Actually, I will give to whoever is listening or watching the toll-free line. In case of anything, let us get that feedback.
Government proposed the insertion of a new clause on the speed limit in Section 119A of the Principal Act to give powers to the Minister of Works and Transport to make regulations and prescribe speed limits in respect of all public and section of public roads. The penalty comes at the height of increased concern on road carnage in Uganda, with December 2022 annual crime report by Uganda Police pointing to a 17% increase in the number of crashes reported in 2022 from 17,443 crashes in 2021 to 20,394 crashes in 2022.
And whosoever now is got on the speed issue is directly taken to courts of law and is fined the amount I've talked about, that is the maximum.
Abajja kusasula fine oyo ate kiba kirungi mulamuteekako fine oyo yo yeetaagisa nfe nga abantu abalinamu ku baana balina famire abalina ki waliwo olwosanga ovuga bulungi ate omulala.
It's good to implement those penalties because some people drive badly. And of course it's better. Police should not tolerate corruption in these processes. Police recorded 6,130 cases of driving in excess of the prescribed speed out of the 336,722 traffic offences, and police revealed that in 2022 there were 456,993 tickets issued, valued to 38.585 billion. Some Ugandans believe that instead of imposing penalties, government should focus on widening roads. Government should focus on widening roads than implementing those penalties. In a similar development to breach of the laws, Uganda prison some trailer is reported to have been looted and goods worth over 15 million taken. According to Frank Baine, the Corporate Communications Commissioner, Uganda Prison Service, locals took advantage of the trailer following a deadly accident in Chinoni, Nigomba district.
I don't have the cost of cuff of what we lost in that truck as stores, but I think it was above 15 million because a trailer carries a lot of stuff.
Baine explained that the accident took place when the prison same trailer registration number UG0369 had a head-on collision with the Kenyan trailer registration number KMC 5805 that left one of their officers dead and another one injured. Bedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now Business Today will take a break and we will be returning with more shortly after the break.
Smart 24, driving business.
Luxury redefined at Seasan Hotel as you indulge in the splendor of elegant living fit for the royalty that you are.